Thank you very much. It's been 18 months since I've presented anywhere publicly. I'm had it with Zoom. Thank you guys for coming. It's great to see a live audience again. I really appreciate that you've made the effort to get here. And I hope after our talk, if I've interested you, you come and speak to me at the booth. No changes at board for us, steady as she goes. And our capital structure is up there. I would address, we had a great year in 2020. We took the share price from $0.01 to about 8 cents at Christmas. Since Christmas, it's been on a bit of a steady decline. That is purely a reflection of the fact that both of our projects are in the Southern Hemisphere and in the tropical zone. It's really hard for us to work from December through to about the end of March. It's just very wet. So the good news is we're coming into the sweet spot for both our projects. We're in Brazil, we're drilling at the moment, and I'll talk about that second. And as of yesterday, Monday, we had mobilised to our Halls Creek site. So lots of news flow coming over the coming months. And for us, we know we delivered some of the best exploration results of any company in 2019 and 20 in terms of real drilling results. And we're very confident that we can do that again. So we're about to come into that sweet spot. Now's a good time to get on board. Our two projects, I'm going to address Palm Springs first. Brazil is our long-term project. We've had that for a couple of years. To be honest, at the start of COVID, I was in Brazil and I could see that it wasn't going to go well. They had a president that wasn't too keen on the whole story and was very anti any amelioration of COVID. So Brazil was going to be difficult, and luckily we were able to transition into an Australian project so that we could run them in parallel. And that Australian project is called the Palm Springs project, and it's been an absolute godsend for us. It's in the Kimberley, just outside of Halls Creek. It really is a beautiful part of the world, and we're delighted to be exploring there again. So the project that we acquired it off a prospector. It had been a gold mine. It was a gold mine in the late 1990s at an historic gold price low. The mine stopped in 1995 when the gold price was around 250 Australian dollars an ounce. You'll appreciate it's about 10 times that now. The mine went into care and maintenance, but work effectively stopped in 1995 and was never restarted. So until we had come onto Butchers Creek in 2020, there'd been no exploration done here for 25 years. So that's a unique opportunity for us. We got a whole bunch of ground, but we've really focused very heavily on the old mine because it's there and we know it's good. It's on granted pre-native title mining leases, which means that we can go and explore there immediately. And the ground's already been cleared, so there's really no impediment to our exploration or our subsequent development. Just outside of Butchers Creek, there is one more small JORC resource. Now, there's no resources here at the moment, and that's because although there's 30,000 metres of drilling here, it's old, all the data's on paper, we are gradually rehabilitating that as we go, but what I can tell you is that last year we went in and we had a very successful exploration year. So this is the deposit as we found it. The deposit stopped on a day. My understanding is that the guys turned up for work one morning and the guys, that's it, we're shutting down. And there was, at that time, there was ore in the floor of the pit, and particularly in the south, ore continuing outside the pit and below the pit. And as you can see from those intercepts, fantastic ore right below the pit. And what you'll see, and that pit that you'll see there on that's now full of water. And that's an issue for us, and I'll address that shortly. But that's the pit that they plan to mine at $225, I think, per ounce. You can imagine how big that pit will be at the current gold price. It'll be substantially bigger. And there's some fantastic open pit grades and intercepts there. Now, that's all historic drilling. There was only 3 drill holes drilled south of the pit. When we acquired the project mid last year, my initial idea was to go up and drill underneath the pit and inside the pit, but we couldn't dewater it, we didn't have a licence, and we couldn't find the right spots to drill from to get to the ore. So we thought, well, we'll go to the south and we'll see what we can find down there. Sorry, I can't advance. There it is. These are our drill results from last year. We had a very short window to get in and start exploring before the wet season came. We only acquired the project around halfway through the year. So we mobilised straight away and we got exploring. You'll see that there's two different colours there. There's numbers in purple and there's numbers in blue. The numbers in purple, it's all one drilling program. It was all done by us. But you'll understand in a second why the two sets of results are so different. It's what we didn't know last year when we started and what we know now that's going to make a massive difference to our exploration program. And I promised to give my COO a plug who's managing this, Mr. Pete Sheehan. He's up there right now getting that ready. So we'll be starting drilling within about the next 2 weeks. And we mobilised to site yesterday. And this is the key. This is the key. The ore at Butchers Creek is what geologists would call strata bound. That means it occurs within a particular horizon. And on this cross section, that's a green horizon. It's a trachyandesite. Doesn't matter. It's a green rock that has gold in it. And then that has been folded. In fact, it was probably folded before the gold came. But again, not particularly important. What we see though is this inverted U shape called an anticline. And all the great golds, all the great intercepts are where we drill right into the core of the anticline. If we drill too low, we hit the limbs. And on that last slide, that's the numbers in blue. But when we get the anticline itself, we get some spectacular numbers. You can see the difference there, 70 metres at 4 versus a couple of metres at a couple of grams. Having drilled for quite a way now, we know where that is in three-dimensional space. Our whole program this year is drilling more of those, closing up the drill spacing and extending to the south. We think that we will continue to deliver some fantastic intercepts to the market once we start work, which will be, as I said, in about 2 weeks. This is just a simple sketch that I knocked up. This is not real geology, but it shows that the gold is in the core of the anticline, but the nature of folds is like a corrugated iron roof. There's never just one. Okay, we get fold trains. We know this. They extend north and south, and the folds go east-west. So there'll be more of these. So that's the anticline that we're exploring at Mount. What about the parasitic folds on the side? What about the synclines? There's a lot more to discover here. This is very different than most of the gold that's been discovered in Halls Creek, which is very high grade, very nuggety, quartz vein related gold. This is a bulk tonnage, lower grade style of deposit, which is going to be the first time that's ever really been known about in Halls Creek. And I think it represents a step change in the understanding of the geology for us, and it opens up a whole new range of exploration activity. What you can see, and this is crucially important, is that layer that holds the gold, that andesite, is magnetic. You can't see that, but we measured it. So that's the first thing. We can track that. We can find that andesite through its magnetism. It's in a sea of sediment, sedimentary rock, that is not magnetic. So it stands out. So we can map out where that is with a detailed aeromag survey. And then the ore itself is closely related to sulfide mineralisation, so pyrite and pyrrhotite. And they light up beautifully in IP surveys. There's not enough for EM, but there's certainly enough for an IP survey. So we believe that as well as the main Butchers Creek ore body, there will be other parallel structures, parallel ore bodies within this, and we think geophysics is the way to find those. So we're starting drilling in a couple of weeks, and we'll be running parallel geophysical programs as well. At the same time, 2 weeks ago, we got permission to dewater the pit, so that process will start next week. There's a lot of water. Luckily for us, we have a whole tailings dam that was virtually unused, 9 million tonnes capacity. So we're allowed to pump from the open pit up to the tailings dam. That'll allow us to get rigs back into the pit and drill under the pit to prove up that old drilling, which is no longer really JORC compliant from a resource perspective, and come up with an updated resource. So very active in Palm Springs this year. Sorry. Now I'll just move on to our Brazilian project. As you can appreciate, and I'm sure you've all seen it on the news, Brazil's been a difficult place to operate over the last 18 months. We haven't been there. Luckily for us, we have a great team of Brazilians who live there and have been running the project and have done an amazing job. We have had, all through 2020, we explored, no issues with COVID. Early this year, we did have an outbreak on site. It held us up for a couple of weeks. Luckily, over half my staff got infected in a matter of days, but luckily no one too seriously, and we're all back at work now. We acquired this project in 2019 as a high-grade what we would call low sulfidation epithermal gold project. About 500,000 ounces of gold has already been produced from there by local garimpos, illegal miners, and we've come in and explored below those. Previous Australian group called Crusader had a small resource here, 250,000 ounces, but look at the grade of the high-grade portion, around half an ounce, 15 grams. That has been initially our focus at a project called Donna Maria and also Kerosene, where we've drilled some fantastic numbers. Now, I had hoped that I would be able to update the resource for you all today. Unfortunately, and I won't name names, but my resource consultant has let me down, and we're still a couple of weeks away from that number. But we're expecting a substantial resource number. You'll understand why in a second when you see what we've been drilling, but that will lead directly into a scoping study. People want to know what's the appropriate size and style of deposit to operate in Brazil. You only have to look at Sarabi Resources, who are a PLC listed company. They are mining 2 deposits to the north of us, very similar grade tonnes profile, very profitably. So we think that this is a real chance to be developed, and we'll start a scoping study immediately. Why am I confident? Because we've drilled some amazing drilling over the last couple of years. In fact, that first one, Judd 1, was, I think, the second best hole drilled on the ASX in 2019. 20 metres at 95. So amazing drilling, free gold, tellurides, silver, classic low sulfidation epithermal. And as we've explored through this area over the last couple of years, what we've realised is that there are 2 systems here. There is a gold-only system or a gold-silver telluride system, but there's also a gold-copper system without tellurides and have significantly lower grade. But we've seen some great copper-gold intercepts, which are spatially associated but in different orientations. And that really got us thinking that this is a classic porphyry copper environment. And we're very confident about that based on some of this shallow drilling that we've done and some great copper-gold numbers there. So in 2020, we committed to a deep IP survey. Porphyry coppers are deposits that have low percentages of sulphide. And the correct way to explore for them geophysically is a process called IP, where you pump electricity into the ground and you see where does it go, what gets charged, what's conductive, what's resistive. Okay, we generated an enormous conductive anomaly, a chargeability anomaly, I beg your pardon, and it's enormous. It's well over 1.5 kilometres long. It's very deep. The top of it's about 600 metres, but it sits right below the high-grade gold deposits effectively. So we committed, we modelled that, we've committed to drilling it, and we're in the middle of we're 2/3 of the way through our first hole at the moment. These are deep drilling, these are expensive holes, and this is real exploration, okay? This is cutting edge exploration in my opinion. So where are we at with that? We released some results today. This is very much a cartoon cross section. So it's a 1,000 metre deep hole into the anomaly itself. From about 600 metres, we started to see an increase in the temperature of the alteration, and we went into a zone of quartz molybdenite veins, classic porphyry minerals. From about 750 metres, we started seeing chalcopyrite and bornite, and we're in what we call the philic zone, which is the next temperature up. Ultimately, we hope to get into the potassic zone, or on the edge of the philic and the potassic zone, which is where porphyry coppers live. Okay, these are not simple deposits. These are large, complex deposits. But we are very clearly, as you can see from those photos, in a porphyry copper environment. We have porphyritic rocks, we have intrusives, we have lamprifiers, dolerites, porphyries, we have high fluid pressures, explosive breccias, we have some fantastic copper and gold grades that I've already shown, and we believe that this first hole has absolutely been proof of concept. There's more drilling to come. This is an enormous project, but very, very exciting. And if we get it right, will clearly be a game changer for the company. So, we're currently drilling in Brazil on the porphyry copper. We've got a resource update to come within the next few weeks. And as soon as we get the resource update, we'll proceed straight into a scoping study on the high-grade gold. We'll continue to explore the porphyry copper at the same time. In Australia, we're weeks away from drilling, and we'll be starting that, I think, around the 20th of this month. At the same time, we'll be pumping the pit. It's my guarantee to you that we will drill a lot more great numbers this year. We've consistently delivered some of the best results anyone has drilled over the last couple of years. We would love to see you on the register. Please come down to my booth and have a chat to me. Thank you very much for coming.